You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Join me this week. We've got a good panel this week. I'm delighted to be joined by Greg Brown. And Greg, it's a pleasure to welcome you on to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah, looking forward to it. And we're also joined by making his debut appearance as well, Michael McEwan. Michael, welcome on. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks for asking me on, Scott.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Looking forward to it. We obviously have a full list to look forward to. 6 games in the Premiership, and we'll dig into the 3 leagues in the SPFL as well. We have to start, and I kind of don't want to spend too much time on this, but we obviously have to talk about the minute silences that have been kind of disrespected over the past few days. We do not want to get into political things and things like that, but one thing I will say, and this is just me speaking in my personal opinion, if you disrespect a minute silence, I think there's something wrong with you. So it's kind of tough. Obviously, we don't want to get into the situation too deep because it is bad and it's shed a bad light in Scottish football. And that's the thing that bugs me, is that I'm not particularly surprised that this has happened. I knew this was coming. Greg, is there anything you want to add to it? I know it's a difficult situation to touch on, and we've saw in the past week, if you have an opinion on Twitter, you're quickly shot down. So we'll be brief on it, but it's not been a good look this week for Scottish football, I would say.
No, it's not. It's quite fascinating how some clubs have adopted the minute silence, other clubs adopted the minutes applause.
Yeah.
I think you're always going to get it worse doing a minute silence. I think doing a minute's applause keeps it a little bit tidier. I know Celtic fans tried their best today to get involved with that as well, but I think a minute's applause should have been the rule set across the board. I'm not sure why it was a decision you could pick what you wanted to do.
The thing is that the minute silence has happened all over Britain and there's not been an issue. It's only Scottish football. And as I said at the start, I'm not overly surprised because I knew that's why it was a minute applause, because everybody knew that a minute silence would be disrespected. So Michael, you want to add, because it's, as we say, it's not something that's you're going to have people shooting you down anyway. So what do you think? What's your overall thoughts on it?
Same old story, Scott. Very embarrassing. And don't forget, you've got a minute silence coming up in November for Remembrance Sunday as well. We always knew something was going to happen this weekend. Totally embarrassing. But I mean, if you don't want to respect the minute silence, there's an easy thing to do. Don't go into the game until the minute silence is over. I mean, if you can't really shut up for 60 seconds, God help us all, I mean, we're not asking for much, and I know this is a football podcast, but if you don't believe in the monarchy, that's fine, but don't, it's only 60 seconds. It's not a big hardship, totally embarrassing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you're pretty much right. If you don't want to be involved in it, wait until stand outside, stand in the concourse until the game starts. And that's the thing. It's just there's so much wrong with that. And again, it's just something that you're always gonna have problems if you speak about it. But I think we had to. I think there's a lot going on in Scottish football at the moment. I think I'm not overly surprised. As I say, it's one of these bad things. But again, we'll get into what we're here to talk about, which is football. 6 games over the weekend. We will start with the 2 games that kicked off on Sunday. We're recording this on Sunday night. The first game is at St Mirren Park. St Mirren 2, Celtic 0. Celtic's unbeaten run in the Premiership for I think it was just exactly a year. I think it was 364 days, came to an end today. St Mirren, a very disciplined St Mirren performance. Greg, from a St Mirren point of view, they did everything right. They were man-marked. They were totally organised. They knew what they were doing. They had a game plan. They frustrated Celtic. Celtic couldn't get anything going, and St Mirren thoroughly deserved a victory.
Absolutely, they'll be delighted, especially after losing 3-0 in Perth 2 weeks ago. They would have really kind of feared today against a rampant Celtic side who have defeated all before them. As you say, almost a year to the day tomorrow it will be since he last lost at Livingston. In that time, I think it was 37 games played in the league, 31 wins and 6 draws. Not bad going.
Yeah, it's decent.
But for St Mirren to take the lead and to then score a second goal, though, is tremendous.
Yeah.
And it's great to see the Rangers and Celtic losing games. They won't lose many games this season, but it keeps it interesting, and it brings Rangers right back into the mix now in terms of how far behind they were, and they've shortened the gap. But a massive, massive win for St Mirren, and they'll be absolutely delighted.
Yeah. Michael, we've spoken this show nearly every week about just how ruthless Celtic are. They're so quick, they're going forward. You saw that today it wasn't a usual Celtic performance. There was a lot of changes that I think played a part. We'll talk about that in a second, but it wasn't the Celtic we've seen this season. And why do you think that was?
Yeah, we've all come on to speak about the changes. People say get upset the team. I'm not very sure, to be honest. Celtic has got calibre right through the squad, so I'm not so sure. Maybe 6 is a bit over the top, but I don't know, Scott. I mean, the game was on for like 20 minutes and Celtic never really got going, and that was the story for the whole game. In fact, they could get Scalby playing tonight and still no score. We had to wait until, 82 minutes for Jota to have a shot goal, and that was Celtic's first goal in the attempt at goal. Very disappointing for Celtic, but on the other hand, you've got to say well done to St Mirren as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought St Mirren were excellent. I thought, as we say, the man marked that they were completely. They gave Celtic no opportunity to get going, which I think is key to stopping this Celtic team. Greg, Celtic, we spoke there about obviously the changes they made, 6 changes, and they do have a lot of squad depth. We spoke about that a lot, but there comes a point where you can make too many changes and it disrupts your harmony, your squad. And I think especially after a tough week where they've obviously went to Poland and got a draw, they've had to obviously kind of use that squad a wee bit today, and you could see it wasn't the same. There was a bit of a difference, and I've said before, I think Cameron and Carter Vickers is a huge player in that Celtic defence, and I thought it was badly missed today because both goals are headers, and I think Carter Vickers has been the main man in basically stopping these crosses coming in, because a lot of the time it's Carter Vickers that is there putting his head in it and getting that away. And today, I think that's the only ever time we'll see Moritz Jens and Stephen Welsh as a partnership.
Yeah, I feel it's sorry for Ange Postecoglou because he's made a decision to make the changes, and if they get a result, he's a hero. Well done. Yeah. We've utilised the squad. But whenever you do that at any club, especially Celtic or Rangers, and you rotate and don't get a result, then question marks are asked. There's probably quite a lot of Celtic fans tonight who are a bit pissed off probably that he's made those changes. Rangers have cut the gap by a further 2 points today in a match where the people have come in should still be good enough, and that's why he's made the changes. They've got a very good squad, Celtic. They've got depth in that squad, but as you said, today it's not quite happened for them, and they've paid the price.
Yep. I think they have paid the price. Michael, yeah, and you want to add about the game before we talk moving the other game on Sunday?
Yeah, no, I think Greg hit the nail on the head there, but just to expand in what I was saying earlier on, I mean, okay, 6 was a bit much, but however, Celtic's got the squad in depth to basically win that game. No disrespect to St Mirren. Carter Vickers was a big miss. Scarfield was a big miss as well, because they've kind of Scarky get a good partnership, you would say, in the past season or two. But no, nothing really get going for Celtic today. And I must say, well done to my pal Mark Ahara. Like, he scored a goal, and I've yet to speak about to Mark after scoring that goal. But listen, I mean, that's him scored once against Celtic and twice against Rangers now. When I was at Dundee, and a brilliant goal that he scored for the first goal. He got it well, and don't forget that he nearly scored a second goal in the second half as well.
Yeah, I think he's a really good game actually. Stood out there. The boy are younger stood out like a sore thumb as well. I thought he was excellent the whole game. But massive win for St Mirren. I think when Rangers and Celtic both lose a game, I think we've seen it with Rangers in the past couple of weeks, the pitchforks come out very quickly. I don't think it's that bad. I think there's just I think the international breaks came at a good time for Celtic. They can refresh. They've obviously had a busy couple of weeks, and we'll see how it goes from there. But I think obviously massive win for St Mirren. Michael, we'll touch on you for the next game. Motherwell 0, Hearts 3. Lawrence Shankland with the first, and then Alan Forrest with a double. You would think this was a one-way game, but by reports, and I haven't seen much of it, that Hearts were very. It wasn't as comfortable maybe as the result suggested, but a big win for Hearts obviously after, and caps off a really good week.
Yeah, no, I was actually watching the game today because when the show was on, when the game was on, I do a radio show as well. But yeah, I was kind of end to end. I've got to say, what was the Murrow goalkeeper doing for the first Hearts goal? It was if we've not seen that yet, Conde of others as well. Just capped off a good win for Hearts. A good win and a good week for Hearts. And maybe in the next couple of weeks, I kind of tipped Hearts to finish off in third place this season. Going by the last couple of weeks, maybe not. But now that they've got Snodgrass, what is a good signing as well. Alan Forrest scored twice, and he's actually scoring goals for fun at the moment because I remember watching Livingston last season and we were scoring goals week in, week out, so that's a good signing as well. And obviously you've got the young, or maybe not young, but Craig Gordon. I mean, he made a brilliant save today as well. So yeah, a good win for Hearts.
Absolutely, yeah, big win for Hearts. Motherwell, Greg, I would say, from what I've seen, I would say they were pretty much like your team that we'll touch on later on. They create the chances and they just didn't finish them. And I think Craig Gordon was a big part of that. But Motherwell will be looking to get Louis Moulton. I know he's going to be key, I think, going forward. I think they need him. But again, one of those games I would say where maybe the score line was a bit more than it was a bit kind of flattering to Hearts, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. I've not seen the highlights yet, but I think for Motherwell at home to lose 3-0 to a side who've just travelled back from Latvia on Thursday night, obviously they've had a week to prepare for this game, Motherwell, to lose 3-0. I would say the honeymoon period's over for Stevie Hamill. Obviously a really good start as a caretaker. They beat Aberdeen, they beat Livingston at home 1-0, but since then they've failed to win. Not a great result today for Motherwell. I just think for them, these are the sort of home games against sides playing in Europe you're trying to get something from. But touching on Hearts, as Michael said, it's a massive, massive week for them this week. They before Thursday night, they lost 6 of their last 7 games.
Yeah.
Not saying that Robin Nielsen was under pressure, but had they got a poor result in Latvia on Thursday and lost today, there would be an outcry amongst the Hearts fans. So he's put that to bed, and I think Robin Nielsen will be just chuffed to get through this week. 2 wins, 2 clean sheets, and they can then move on to have that little international break and come back fresh from that. But in terms of Motherwell, another side who are going to be struggling. I've tipped Motherwell to finish bottom 6 this season. There's no way they'll be anywhere near top 6 this season, Motherwell. Not a chance.
Do you think so?
No, not a chance. I just think you've got Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts at least. Hibs are coming onto a game now. And I just think one of the other clubs will be better than Motherwell. So fully expecting Motherwell to be finished in the bottom 6 this year alongside St Johnstone, Ross County, Dundee United possibly. It's going to be a fascinating season in that bottom 6 anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we'll touch on obviously a few of the teams later on, but we'll go to Ibrox for the 4 games on Saturday. We'll start at Ibrox. Rangers 2, Dundee United 1. Greg, a Rangers team badly in need of a win for more confidence more than anything else. And I've just wrote down a few things that I want to get. You'll give me your thoughts, obviously, but Rangers' first 10 minutes were electric. I thought they were. You saw a bit more of that kind of zip that we've been missing the past few weeks. I would say, like, we've not seen much for that Rangers team. But you look at Cholak and obviously his 2 goals and their 2 amazing first touch finishes that I think Rangers really need. I think Rangers have been lacking that for a couple of years. But it was just slow and lethargic from then on in. There was just nothing going forward, and United were probably raging they didn't get something out of it. It was just Rangers flat, and when it's flat and you're winning, right, okay, you're getting points, but when you're flat and it's 4 games in a row and you've not seen much apart from Cholak coming in and scoring first touch goals, it suggests that maybe all is not well at Ibrox.
He's been a pretty decent signing, to be fair, Cholak this season. He's done well with scoring goals. I think Rangers fans tonight will just be happy the weekend's out the way.
Yeah.
Having when Celtic losing. But I don't think Rangers fans are very happy full time on Saturday.
No, they don't.
That's why 2-0 up early doors, and that was it really. I think at home this season they've been pretty dominant, Rangers at home. They've won 4-0, 4-0, I think 3-0 and 2-0. I was fully expecting a pretty comfortable home win on Saturday. It didn't really pan out that way. And I guess you have to give credit to United. They've obviously had a really tough season so far, but they've steadied the ship since Jack Ross left, and you'd probably have to fear for them going to Ibrox 2-0 down early doors. But to come back into 2-1 and make a game of it, fair play to United, and they'll take confidence from that, I think, moving on after the international break.
Yeah. Michael, Rangers team selection's been a talking point for the past couple of weeks, and I've spoken to a lot of people about it, and again on Saturday you were looking at it and going, what is going on here? You've got Ryan Jack, John Lundstrom, Charlie McCann came in. I thought Charlie McCann did okay, but you're at home at Dundee United and you're playing 3 midfielders doing the same job. You've got Scott Arfield playing in right midfield, Ryan Kent, who is way out of form, is still there, and it's weird. And it's, again, we've spoke about recruitment so much in the past few weeks, but it's just this thing of, and we spoke about it, there's this thing with Rangers of just play it safe, don't just get the win, get the 3 points. It doesn't matter how slow it is and turgid, just get the points. It was lethargic. I didn't see much that makes me think, right, this Rangers team have improved, this Rangers team have picked up in the past week. It was a big 3 points, and as Greg says, they're 3 points closer to Celtic than they were on Saturday and Friday, but it still reeks of there's a bit of unrest among the support, I would say, at the present moment.
We were talking about Celtic. They have been a bit awful today, but I still think Celtic will win the league this season. I know it's quite early for me to say that, but you can tell the differences on the benches in terms of last week's game against the European game at Ibrox. That they brought on, now the boy's name escapes me, and they were 3-0 down, but anyway, he came on as well. But if you compare that to the Celtic bench, right, they've got Turnbull and they've got Forrest and players like that. Players that's been and done it and seen it, basically. I was watching Van Bronckhorst's press conference before the Napoli game, and they were asking him about were you not concerned about the Ajax game, and they were asking him were you not concerned about how they never signed anybody on the last day, and right away he said nope, and that was it. And as soon as he answered that question, I was like that. There's alarm bells going off at Ibrox. So I think that's. I think that's the differences at the moment. I know Van Bronckhorst says after the game yesterday, a decent performance and a decent win. I don't think it was a decent performance. I think it was a decent win. But the fan, if you listen to some of the fans on social media, they weren't happy with the performance. And I mean, Dundee United had a few shots at goal, the highlights that I saw as well,
The thing with Rangers is that, and I think you're right, but what is, when Van Bronckhorst is asked, are you happy with your squad, he's going to say yes. He's not going to say no and end up the Scott Parker treatment. That's not going to work. So what can he say? But you can't tell me
that, wasn't he? I think he's close to saying he's not happy, because you can tell.
It's obvious to see what's going on. But again, you bought a player in Rabbi Matondo. Now the rumours was at the start of yesterday that it was a disciplinary issue. It wasn't the squad, but no reports says he isn't injured. So why is he not in the squad? You've spent $2 million on a right winger. and you're playing Scott Arfield there.
The reality is that squad's weaker than the last season's squad. Simple as
it's not just that it's weaker, it's the same squad pretty much from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It must be worrying if you go to Parkhead and not have a decent shot goal the whole game. I mean, I was having a conversation, and it was a conversation with a kind of Rangers fan the other week, and I was asking them the question was, is it not concerning if you went to Parkhead and it was 4-0 going on about 8-0, and they said, well, these things happen, and I'm like, well, not really, but yeah.
It's a win, and it's, as you pointed out, Rangers are closer to Celtic than they were on Friday, but you've also got this thing of, right, what's next? Because we're hearing about, obviously, Suter's out long term, Hollander's out long term. We knew that. We knew that when John Suter signed. No disrespect, John Suter's a good defender, but I think he's done both knees, and I think he's tore his Achilles. I mean, if he's not injury prone, then what is he? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're taking a gamble on a talented guy, but you've also need to remember the fact is, right, wait a minute, you're signing injury prone players, and then you're bringing in the likes of Rabbi Matondo, Ben Davis, for example. Now, Ben Davis could have easily played half an hour yesterday. Now, I'm not saying why's Ben Davis been signed if he's not going to come in? Now, he's sitting on the bench. If you're good enough to make the bench, you must be good enough to make the starting 11. Now, injuries can play a part. So I just don't understand what's going on. And
I think as well, Scott, sorry, I think as well that the international breaks came at maybe this is a bit of a controversial comment that I'm going to say, but the international break has maybe came at the right time for Van Bronckhorst to buy him a bit of time.
Yes, it absolutely has, and that's the thing as well. What happens after that? If you come out, Rangers' first game's away to Hearts. If you don't win that game, what happens? Where do you? Because the fans are unhappy, and the fans are unhappy at not just the way the team are playing, they're unhappy at the board. Now, if the board then, if it becomes a stage where Van Bronckhorst and borrowed time, and I don't think it will get to that. I think it'll be a wee while before that really that does get to that stage. But the board have brought in that's it. This board can't just say, right, we'll get rid of the manager and everything will be okay.
Yeah,
it's the board that are receiving a lot of the blame. So what happens there? It's a tough one. I think the international breaks came at a perfect time for Rangers, not just for the fact that for injuries and things like that, but it's time to kind of spend a couple of weeks with the players that aren't on international duty and actually get a system that not only gets results but excites the support a wee bit, because they were okay against Napoli. They weren't terrible the first half. The red card obviously made it very difficult for Rangers to get anything out of it, but the Napoli obviously showed their class. But Rangers can take a bit of confidence in the fact that they actually stood up to Napoli for the first 45 minutes. But yeah, Rangers obviously getting a big win, and now they're 2 points behind Celtic in the top of the league. One team that did pick up a big win were Hibs, a 3-1 home win over Aberdeen. Greg, let's come to you for that. I know you're eager to talk about Hibs. Hibs obviously 1-0 down after 4 minutes. Duke with a really nice goal, actually, but the red card changed the game. Liam Scales getting a red card, and then Hibs showing their advantage they played some really good stuff, actually, and they were really, really impressive the second half. But Greg, talk me through the game. Talk me through your opinion of Hibs so far this season.
Really difficult. It's fine lines in football, and we're now midway through September, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I cannot believe how much good fortune this Hibs side have had this season. The Hibs fans will be shouting at their TVs, their screens, their phones at the moment, but when you look through the season so far, they've played 7 matches. They've only played against 11 men for the full 90 minutes in 3 of those games. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not Hibs' fault.
Yeah.
But they've had 4 matches where there's been a player sent off. St Johnstone, Rangers, Kilmarnock and Aberdeen on Saturday. Now, by all accounts, Hibs actually played pretty well in that first half. However, as Jim Goodwin's obviously been saying in interviews yesterday and today, a minute before half-time, penalties given, man sent off. If Hibs go in at 1-0 down on Saturday, 1-0 down, I don't think they win that game. And looking through the season as well, fine lines in their matches. Lots of late goals, and you could argue that that's great. They've got a fighting spirit, but I just think they've had a lot of breaks this season, Hibs, and it's come at a great time for them as well. They're bringing players back in. They're starting to play a little bit better. So I think Lee Johnson has flattered to deceive a little bit. But that said, massive win for Hibs. They beat Kilmarnock last time out as well, 1-0. Back-to-back home wins into the international break. I think Hibs fans will be pretty chuffed. But if you dig a little bit deeper, it's not been plain sailing for Hibs at all this season so far. They've had a lot of breaks and a lot of rub the green.
Yeah, and they've not had a good start as well. And I mean, they were out the Premier Sports Cup. They have actually come onto a game in the past couple of weeks. But I do agree with you. I think they've been very, very lucky. But Jim Goodwin is a man who feels he was very unlucky over in Saturday's performance. And I want to just read a quote, Michael, that Jim Goodwin says. And I don't usually do this, but I'm going to here because I thought it was quite interesting. You are always worried who is marking Ryan Porteous because you know what he's like. He's won so many free kicks and penalties for his conning of the referee. He goes over very easy. Michael, do you agree with that comment he made on Saturday?
Yeah. I mean, I'll come back to what Jim Goodwin said in a minute, and I think that he will get pulled up against the Beaks for that comment, and that's so unfair. I think Ryan Porteous, I might upset Greg here, but I think Ryan Porteous is a very overrated football player. And I know we're going to touch up on the Scotland squad later on, but and Greg might, I know you've only met me for 5 minutes, but you might hate me now. I don't know why he's in that Scotland squad, to be honest.
I'm with you, mate. I agree.
But going back to Goodwin's comments, look, the penalty, whether you think it was a penalty or not, I mean, I still think it's kind of it's a bit tough.
I think it's tough in Newell, and not Newell. I think it's tough in Scales because he's doing something that you do all the time. That's what you do in the box when you're trying to obviously defend a corner. Porteous does go down rather easily, but again, you're giving the referee a decision to make. I think it's tough for Scales. I think he's unlucky to be sent off, but again, he's on a yellow. Should he know better? Yes, he probably should, but I think
probably you've got Scott. It's the fact that it's Porteous who is becoming a bit of a clown of Scottish football with a lot of stuff, and it's Jim Goodwin who, let's be honest, Jim Goodwin was a master of the dark arts of defending. So I think the fact that it's those two people as well makes this a more feisty than it probably would be under normal circumstances.
I mean, yes and no, but like if you were talking about the quote that Scott read out then, the comment that's on television, I hope he doesn't get pulled up, but I think he will by because we all know the SFA is very what's the word I'm looking for? Protective of the big at the SFA. We don't say anything bad against him, but the ref can make a horrible mistake and have a horrible game, yet they're not going to come out and explain the situation. It's funny because I was saying on the show today that, remember years ago, we used to wait until Wednesday before they come out on that stupid website to say how they came to that decision. Mm-hmm. But you actually forget about the game at the weekend and you're looking forward to the next week's game. But the SFA seems to use things a bit back to front. So I don't think Jim Goodwin would be hopefully not punished by it. But then again, you're not surprised.
I think for Jim Goodwin as well, he's obviously got a massive job at Aberdeen, a lot of expectations, and it's probably for him quite an easy deflection tactic to blame it on the referee and that incident. I can totally get where he's coming from, Jim Goodwin, but at the same time, it's quite easy for him to appease Aberdeen fans by saying, listen, we've been done by unfortunate refereeing decision that's totally changed the shape of the game.
Yeah, and that's fair, but you can't argue that Hibs were the far better team.
No, absolutely.
Deserved to win the game. But one player I want to touch on with you, Greg, is Josh Campbell. I think the past few weeks he's come on to a massive game, a double again on Saturday. I think he's beginning to look a real good kind of addition. Not obviously he's came through a youth team, but he's looking a real find for Lee Johnson, and he's beginning to kind of play him in the position I think he knows. I think that was a problem maybe last season when he was kind of breaking in, that he wasn't. He was kind of played sometimes out of position, but he seems to have found his feet the past couple of games, I would say.
He has. I think that's always been the problem for him, is finding who the two should be playing that middle of that path. And the fact that him and Neil probably complements him quite a lot as well. So I think the two of them had a really good game yesterday. And I think Lee Johnson will be delighted to go into the international break off the back of a really good win against Aberdeen. And some of the players start to improve. Plus, he's probably got players coming back from injury as well. I think Hibs did have quite a significant injury list at the start of the season. And that will soon clear up as well. So they're going to go into the next part of the season really strong in terms of their squad and in a good place.
I think they will, yeah. I think they'll be delighted to have that. One team that are in a good position going into the international break are Livingston. A 1-0 win against Kilmarnock on Saturday, Michael. Massive win. It puts them to 5th in the league joint level with St Mirren. A really, really good performance from Livingston. A really impressive display. We'll touch about Kilmarnock in a second. I want to speak about Kilmarnock myself, but Livingston were very comfortable, and again, it just shows this amazing start that David Martindale has done again.
Yeah, I was thinking about this today, and like, every time a new manager's job's coming up, like Dundee United's looking for a manager, we always speak about other managers, but we don't look at David Martindale and the budget that he's on as well. I think he could go to, hopefully, if any Livingston fans watching, they're not getting upset with me, but I think he could go to a higher level and with more of a budget. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Scott, but Livingston reminds me of Ross County or even Hamilton Accies, because like no matter if the game was at home or away, you always guarantee a difficult game, and you've got to work for your 3 points as well. I thought Alan Forrest would be a big loss for Livingston last season, but obviously not. You know, they're a good, hard-working team at Livingston, especially at the Asketurf Park, and another good 3 points for Livingston. Yes, Kiki?
Absolutely. Greg, would you agree? A massive 3 points for Livingston, but on the other side of that, Kilmarnock really lacking much this season so far. I think that I've looked at the results so far, and this was a team I was tipping for top 6. And Emil Wilson, who's obviously been on the show a lot, as we were both saying, we think Kilmarnock could be the team to watch. But right now, they're 1-1 in 7 games, and I heard boos for Derek McInnes on Saturday. I don't know if they're aimed at him. I just think they're aimed at how poor they've been the whole season, and particularly the front men.
Yeah, I think, remember, Kilmarnock came up pretty unconvincingly. They got the job done last season. I wasn't really expecting much from them this year. I thought they'd maybe probably stay up, and they might very well do that. But as you say, scoring goals is a problem for them. What, 3 goals in 7 games?
Yeah.
Even St Johnstone have scored more than that, and that's saying something.
Johnstone scored more than that in 1 game, I think.
That's right. So, very disappointing start. They did have a tough start to the season, Kilmarnock. They played Rangers, they played Celtic, they played Hearts. They've had a tough start to the season anyway, but
yeah,
going away to Livingston, those are the sort of games away from home. You're really looking to pick up at least a point.
Yes.
And it's the fact they've not scored a goal and they've not picked up any points. That's what will really probably irate Kilmarnock fans. I think they're obviously very happy to have Derek McInnes there. I don't think anyone's disputing that, but they're going to have to start scoring goals and picking up points. And it's been a real issue for them. I don't know how they solve that, but they might have a run of games coming up where at home, against sides in that bottom 6, they might start picking points up.
They're going to have to, and that's. I'm just looking at their fixtures. I mean, they go to Aberdeen next, and then they've got home to Hearts and away to St Mirren. I mean, these are 3 teams that, I mean, if you don't get a win out of those 3 games, I think you're under a sugary peg. And I'm not saying McInnes is going to be in a position his job's under threat, but he's not. But
he could have really done with the game last weekend against St Johnstone being on.
Yes, I think he could have. Yeah,
something from.
Yeah. And it's a tough one because, as you say, you're going to Aberdeen, you've got Hearts at home. They're 2 games that, I mean, I'm not exactly signed with Kilmarnock in both those games right now, but again, it goes to why, if you're really lacking goals, was Christian Doid's the right guy to bring in the summer?
Just on Livingston, I think I owe them a bit of an apology. I had Livingston to finish in the bottom 2, purely based on the price. They're 4-1 to finish in the bottom 2 this season, and that could still happen. But they're 11 points ahead of United now. What are they on points wise?
They're on 12. Yeah, they're 10 points ahead of Dundee United.
10 points in the season is massive. To have a 10-point gap between that and bottom, and let's be honest, Livingston's expectations every season
is to stay up.
And they're 10 points. So job done for them. A fantastic start to the season so far.
Absolutely fantastic start for Livingston. Kilmarnock, I think they will need to get their ideas really quickly. Final game of the weekend in the Premiership was a 0-0 draw. Greg, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 0. St Johnstone, can I say that it's fair that St Johnstone 15 shots, 1 in target, that they did everything but score?
Yeah, pretty much. I've been to most of our games this season. I wasn't there yesterday, unfortunately. But that's another sort of one of those games where you're hoping to pick up 3 points. I'm not saying it's 2 points dropped, but at home against a fellow bottom 6 side, you would say in Ross County, pretty disappointing not to pick up the 3 points. But that said, 4 points at the last 2. And I earmarked the last 4 games as 4 really crucial games for Callum Davison. We beat St Mirren, which is great, and that eased the pressure on him. Picked up a point yesterday. We then had Kilmarnock to play. It was called off. And then Dundee United after the international break. So definitely a much better place than we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I would say still disappointing at home not to pick up the win.
Michael, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 0. 2 teams probably that just couldn't find the net, and I think it's that simple. I think they both created chances, but when it gets to putting them away, they just struggled.
I think that's why they, if you were watching Sportsing last night, that was the last game of it. Very disappointing game, to be honest with you. But I was away in Holligan. I came back and I didn't know that Nicky Clark thing for St Johnstone. But I think maybe this is going to be a bold statement, but I think that's the difference, that St Johnstone will sign Nicky Clark, and I think St Johnstone will make the top 6 this season because Nicky Clark scored goals on his debut. What was it, 25 minutes in, and he scored the first goal at home. So I think that's the difference of St Johnstone being in trouble this season and skin up as Nicky Clark. But in saying that, I think it will be a big miss for Dundee United as well.
Greg, what do you think of Nicky Clark coming in? Is it a signing? Because I think Nicky Clark, we've always thought about Nicky Clark as a goal scorer. He can score goals, but I wouldn't say the one thing about Nicky Clark, I wouldn't say he's not going to come in and score you 25 goals a season. He's going to play a key part in the strike force, he really is, but he's not that guy to get you that many goals, I would say.
No, he's not. He's more like a Stephen McLean sort of player. He'll more link up.
I think that's fair.
And having seen him play against St Mirren 2 weeks ago, he started off really well, scored in his debut. I think we've got a good enough squad there to stay up anyway. Yeah. I like optimism about us finishing top 6. I don't think we will. I think we'll stay up, but he's definitely someone we needed someone to try and score goals and link up the play, and I think he's been a good addition so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's been a really kind of good weekend again for the Premiership. A lot of goals, but we'll move into the Championship quickly. We'll touch on the 5 results, and we'll just ask you both for a result for the weekend for the 3 leagues. Dundee 2, Inverness 3, Morton 1, Arbroath 2, Hamilton 0, Queen's Park 2, Partick 2, Cove 2, and Raith 3, Ayr 2. Greg, certainly a goal fest over 2.5 would have been good at the weekend in the Championship, I would say, apart from one game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a tough league, the Championship.
Yes.
It really nothing between the sides. I wouldn't say it's a great league in terms of the teams that are in it. There's no really any outstanding candidate. Dundee are struggling. Partick Thistle will be disappointed to have blown a 2-goal lead at home. Mm-hmm. That was a bad one for them. They're still top of the league though. Is this Ayer's run finished now? Maybe
first defeat of the season.
I think for me, you have to say Raith Rovers at home to Ayr. Win 3-2 for them.
Yeah, was massive. Michael, give us a result of the weekend in the Championship.
It would have to be the Cove result. I didn't see that coming. Did you say against Partick Thistle, Scott?
Yeah, they were 2-0 down to Partick Thistle, and with 10 minutes to go, and Mark Reynolds with a double to get 2 goals back for Cove. So,
Yeah,
again, massive point for Cove.
Away from home as well, because that was at Firhill as well. Yeah, a lot of goals this weekend, but yeah, that would be my result of the weekend, yeah.
I am going to give a result of the weekend to my good friend Dick Campbell for his Arbroath team getting their first result of the season. I know it was badly needed. I think they were, obviously, after the miraculous performance last season, I think they needed a win badly, and it's a massive result going to Morton 1-2-1. So I'm going to give it to Arbroath. We'll go into League One. Airdrie 5, Clyde 0, Alloa 2, Montrose 1, Dunfermline 1, Falkirk 1, Peterhead 2, Celtic Hearts 1, and Queen of the South 4, FC Edinburgh 1. Greg, gives a result of the weekend in the League One.
Only one winner in Scottish football this weekend, and that is Peterhead. Peterhead 2, Celtic Hearts 1. Their first victory of the season with 10 men as well. It's been a horrible start to the season for Peterhead. It really has. 10 games, 11 games played, 9 defeats, 1 draw, and they finally got a win on the board. Some good wins as well, though, in that league for Alloa, who are ticking on nicely now, doing well at home as well. And obviously, Airdrie battering Clyde 5-0. And a big win as South. Wally Gibson needed that result.
Yeah.
He was under pressure as well after a really tricky start to the season. So, some big wins in that league this week.
I think that's a very open league as well. You've got 4 points between first and sixth, and as you say, Queen of the South beating Edinburgh. Edinburgh have been a really good start as well. For them to get a win's massive. Michael, gives a League One result.
Yeah, it's got to be the Airdrie one as well. No one saw that one coming. Can I just say very quickly, Scott, about and I rant about this every week on my show as well, but it's because I pity that we don't see the lower league games on the telly apart from Friday night, and the Friday night game wasn't on because of stuff nothing to do with football, but I just think it's a total shame. But in saying that, you've got Mounds a highlight for English Football Championship and a Saturday night, and don't get me started on that. But I do get really annoyed about that.
No, it's a great point, Michael. I totally agree. I don't know how difficult it can be to just produce a quick 15-minute highlight show of all the goals in the bottom 3 leagues. I don't know how that's not happening.
I totally agree. I've been an advocate of that for a while. I think you can say, a game in maybe a Monday night or something. Do you know what I mean? Like just something, just a game in BBC Scotland every Monday, I would say. Just make it a lower league night, make it enjoyable. But League 2, Albion 0, Forfar 2, Annan 2, East Fife 2, Dumbarton 1, Bonnyrigg 0, Stenhousemuir 3, Elgin 3, and Stirling 4, Stranraer 1. We have to start with Dumbarton, who are now 10 points clear after 7 games. And I'm going to make a wee announcement. Dumbarton manager Stevie Farrell will be our special guest on next week's show. So that's definitely a show for Dumbarton fans to tune into. But Greg, Dumbarton are as well just handing the trophy now. It's over.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely fantastic. Got a result for them against a side who you could argue would be their main challengers possibly this season.
Yeah.
But to be only in the middle of September and be 10 points clear at this stage of the season, that's better than Queen's Park 2 seasons ago. It's better than Celtic last season. A tremendous start to the season for them, and a bit unexpected. I would say a bit
unexpected. I thought that league was going to be the most open league out of the 3. Like, I really did. I thought there was 5 or 6 teams could easily win that, and now it looks like a one-horse race. But Michael, again, give us a result in the League 2, but it's hard to see past how well Dumbarton have started.
Yeah, no, Dumbarton's going well. Just when you guys were talking about that there, I'm thinking, well, yeah, it would be nice to see Dumbarton up there in the Championship, because they've actually got a nice wee skigging if they actually fill in the other sides, because I think they've only got, one stand at the moment.
Yeah.
And both sets of fans going in there. But yeah, Dumbarton's going well, and you always like to see kind of like smaller teams doing well. That's why everybody was a bit gutted that a blow-off number came up last season.
Yeah, and I think as well, we have to give a word out to Stirling Albion as well. Good friend of the show, Charlie Richmond, obviously would be delighted to be talking about Stirling, but they're sitting second in the league, a big 4-1 win over Stranraer. Another exciting weekend in the SPFL. Obviously, the leagues are going to go on holiday for a week while we do the Scotland are in action. Greg, 3 big games. home to Ukraine, home to Republic of Ireland, and away to Ukraine. 9 points. How many points will Scotland pick up in those 3 games?
Oh, do you know what? I really don't know. I'm actually going to all 3 games. I'm going to Poland next week to watch us Poland. That should help us. Not playing in Ukraine, so neutral venue, but Ukraine still a very, very good side. I'd love Ireland on Saturday. I think to beat them at home would be great. I think we will. They've improved a little bit. They were going to a horrible time, Ireland.
Yeah.
Horrible, horrible time. Improved a little bit, but again, a really tough game on Wednesday at home against Ukraine. So I'd like to say 5 points. We won't get beat. 5 points should be a good return.
Michael, what do you think? We'll touch on the squad just quickly after we ask your results, but what do you think of the 3 games? It's 3 tough games, and I think there's a lot riding in this Ireland game, because I do not think that Ireland were that much better than Scotland. I think that result was a shocking result to me. I just didn't see that coming any time, but this is a massive chance for Scotland to really show that they're far better than what they've shown recently.
I mean, I just think that the first game in Ireland, Scott, I mean, you can match up any way you want, but I thought Ireland were good, yeah, but they weren't that good. I just think Scotland were poor for the whole game. I'm expecting maybe 7 points out of the next 3 games if we can pick up a point against Ukraine away from home. But it's a must-win game for the next 2 games at home. Nothing other than 6 points at home, I would be quite happy, but you can never tell with the Scotland side.
No, you certainly can't, and I think the squad's a very interesting one. We're just going to wrap up shortly, but the squad was weird, and I'm going to say why. You mentioned there about Ryan Porteous. I don't think just Ryan Porteous was a weird one. I think the fact that the striking position is one that concerns me. Che Adams is not a guy who's in good form, and Lyndon Dykes is a guy who's certainly not in form. I want to say that he's not scored in his last 21 games or something.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
That is not good, and he's probably going to be the man leading the line in the...
I guess none of us should be
the first one.
Clark sticks with what he knows. He sticks with boys for him. So regardless of club level performances for CB Clark, I don't think he cares, and he clearly doesn't care.
But is that not a bad thing? Is that not
a bad thing? It is, but I think he's a bit stubborn that way, and he'll always go back to players that have done a job for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of glaring misses for me. I thought if Ross Stewart isn't injured, why is he not in it? Because he's been ripping up the Championship. Yeah. You've got a couple of Jacob Brown. I just haven't seen anything to suggest that he's Scotland class. And you mentioned that defensive position now. Ryan Porteous, I've said for years, I think Ryan Porteous is a really good player. Do I think he's can be trusted in a Scotland jersey? No, sorry, I can't have him.
Hibs fans, for me, he's a solid SPFL Scottish Premiership defender, but he's not an international player.
Not now. A couple of years ago he was, but now I'm just thinking, is that I would really scrape the barrel? But I just think these are massive games. These are probably this is how you've got to a major tournament in the Euros. This is where you need to this is where you need to be, and this is where you need to be winning these games, Michael. And your thoughts in the Scotland squad when it was announced? Was it as worried as I was?
Yeah, because if you're Grant Handley, no disrespect to Grant Handley, but he's a showing every time to get in that squad, and I don't know why, personally speaking. I don't rate kind of like Grant Handley. Going to Jacob Brown, hitting a miss. I mean, I hardly watched Stoke City play football, so I don't really know much about the guy. A big shout out to Greg Taylor. I mean, this time last season, Celtic fans didn't care if he was going. Apart from today, he's holding its own in the Celtic position, and I think he's medically got a call up. Right, yeah. Another one, Scott McKenna for me. A safe bet as well. But as Craig was saying, that no matter who the Scotland managers, they've always got their favourites. I think Goggins Kraken had his favourites as well. but you always got to get that way in international football. But in saying that, hopefully they'll do well. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. It's going to be a very interesting week from a Scotland perspective. We will be back next Sunday. We'll do a wee Scotland review, and obviously we'll have Stevie Farrell on the show talking about all things Dumbarton. Greg, it's been a pleasure to welcome you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Enjoyed it. Really good.
An absolute pleasure. And Michael, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on as well.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me, Scott.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, everyone that's tuned in. Please join us on the next episode of the Scottish Football Show. And for all Scottish football news, please follow our social media channels. Thanks very much, everyone. And please subscribe to our channel. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.